to my Macros 101 series. I'm Tami, certified personal trainer, macro coach, and founder of the FHM Plus app. In our last video in the series, we talked about how to determine what your macros should be based on your goals. So now that you have your macros and you're ready to get started, here's what I want you to do. Step number one is to find a macro tracking app or a macro tracking system that's easy for you to use and to get started with your actual tracking. So it's one thing to have your numbers, but then you also need a reliable place to be able to track things. The two apps that I use and recommend most are Macros First or MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is probably the most well-known macro tracking app, but Macros First is really coming up strong. The thing I like about Macros First a little bit more than MyFitnessPal is it is a much cleaner user interface. It's not really cluttered with ads and things like that, especially if you upgrade to the premium, which I do have a coupon code. If you do want to get the premium membership, I'll leave that down in the description box for you so that you can go ahead and take advantage of that. But you can use the free version of that app or the free version of MyFitnessPal, and those are going to be more than enough to get you started with your macro tracking journey. Now, before you go ahead and you try to get too dialed in with focusing on the macro goals that you were given or that you calculated for yourself, I want you to take a step back and do something that's really, really important first. I always recommend that when you are just getting started with macros that you take a couple of weeks and just track your food normally. Get used to the act of actually tracking food in a tracking app, scanning labels, typing and searching for entries, figuring out portion sizes, using a food scale, measuring cups, whatever your method is. I want you to just get really used to tracking your normal intake without worrying too much about hitting specific numbers. What this does is, number one, it helps you get used to tracking, so you start to understand what it is. You start to look and see if you scan a container of Greek yogurt and then you look at the entry that pops up, you start to see, okay, this has 12 grams of protein and 1 gram of fat and things like that. You start to understand that, you start to see it visually as the food that you eat. And then the second thing that does is it helps you understand where you're currently eating at in regards to your goals. So again, this is just, I don't want you to focus too much on hitting these certain macro numbers yet until you understand where you're at. And I know that can feel like, especially when you're just getting started, you're really excited to start going after these goals. It feels like you're setting yourself back a little bit by not just diving in and getting started right away. But for the long-term sustainability, it's really, really helpful if you start by tracking your normal intake. So eat as you normally would eat before you started this journey. Track and log your regular breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your snacks, and then take a look at your log and see where you're ending up in relation to what your goals are. For a lot of women, we find that when we're tracking our normal day, we're only hitting like 60, 70, 80 grams of protein, and maybe our goal is like 120, 130, 140. So that data gives us the ability to then be able to look at our food log of our normal day and not necessarily rip it all out and change it completely, but look for places where we can add in more protein, or we can decrease fats, or we can swap this for that, or we can decrease or increase serving sizes here or there. But the point is giving yourself that time and space to get to understand tracking, understand the foods that you're typically eating, and then comparing where you're at right now to where you should be in relation to your goals is gonna help you so much with understanding what you need to do to get to this point. If you just go all in, guns blazing, and you wanna hit these certain numbers, it's really, really difficult, especially for people who are brand new to the macro tracking journey. So go ahead, download your favorite macro tracking app. If you have questions on either of the apps that I recommended or any other apps, I've used a bunch, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to help and answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, get your tracking app, get tracking, get paying attention, and I'll see you in the next video.